Hey, Daily MWOD, we're gonna do the pigeon complex today. All you need is a floor. Now check this out. I'm gonna recommend you do this either in the morning, a few hours before you train, have a fabulous squat session, or tonight, before you go to bed, get yourself up. So what we're gonna do is say, hey look, the last 10 minutes before you go to the bedroom, great time to do some soft tissue work. So pigeon complex, I either do this very early in the morning with my coffee, get my hips ready for the day, or again, when I'm chilling out watching TV. So let's start with basic, safe pigeon. They're all fine. The idea here though is I'm assuming that my hips aren't ready to handle the load. So notice I've got my hip on the ground here. So I'm putting my hip on the ground, knee on the ground before I get any gapping force. And the first thing I'm gonna do is belly tight. I'm gonna try to be tall, and I'm not gonna worry about the ray or the vector in which I'm going. All I'm gonna do is just kind of take a fold forward, see where I am. I'm gonna go ahead and now push into the ground as hard as I can, telling my brain I own this position, and then I'm gonna relax. Keeping the belly in, so try not to kind of either overextend or flex, so I can keep the tension on. Keep that long lever. Imagining always pushing out through the top of the head. I'm just gonna keep folding forward. Give this a chance to work. Take a big breath in. Hold for 4, and then slowly exhale for me. Magic happens on that long exhale. So now I've sort of hit this range. I'm getting some good change. Again, belly is in tight, trying to be long through the top of the head. But now is where it gets interesting. Now, when we're looking at improving flexion of the hip, squatting, closing the hip down, we're always looking at those two components, flexion and external rotation. What we're doing here, notice, is that we're biasing the external rotation first of the leg and then adding the flexion as the load. But now I'm gonna try to be clever, and I'm gonna pull my belly in tight. I'm gonna try to rotate as far as I can, and suddenly I realize, hey, that's pulling all the way from this hip, from this oblique wall, all the way back into the QL on the other side. So I can get this big rotation happening through the trunk. Then I can go ahead and load that hip up again. So notice that I'm not twisting flexed or twisting extended, I'm twisting tall, rotating to this end range, tying that endopelvic fascia, the connective tissue of my pelvic bowl, into that hip. Take a big breath here and learn how to be strong. Ready? Big breath. And hold, push into the ground, maintaining that twist. Slow exhale. Slowly let yourself melt. Come a little bit further. I'm not just working on my back. I just came to end range. My belly button is being pulled to the spine. I'm not pushing the belly out, so keep engaged here. Keep the spine protected as I work on this. All we're doing is we're winding up that endopelvic fascia from the top, and you're gonna capture aspects of the glute that you did not capture before until this came on tension. Because we're lengthening that connective tissue through that QL and in the back, it's gonna wind up the hip slightly differently. Take a breath here. Now big breath in. Make sure you can breathe into those positions. Load that hip up a little bit more. Still trying to create length through the top of the head. Good. Now we're going to come back to straight, and I'm going to push away. So what I'm doing now is walking my back leg around a little bit. Still trying to be tall, but I'm looking like I'm in this kind of S-sit position, right? And I'm going to turn and try to get my chest to go to my foot to the limit. I'm using my hand to prop up. This is kind of a crazy position. Take a big breath in. Hold, push down, figure out how to push the whole limb into the ground here. Hold, 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 release. Now let's do a long contract relax on this one. Ready? Big breath in. Resist for 4. Long exhale now. I got all the way out, getting to the bottom of my breath. And that allows me not to guard through that neuromuscular sort of system, and it allows me to empty the belly so that I'm not holding myself up with a big sort of intra-abdominal pressure pillow. So now I'm starting to feel this in my adductor. I'm rocking forward. Good. And I'm going to dismount. Oh, squeeze my legs together. That feels good. And I'm going to come the other side and do the same thing. So I'm just going to start belly tall, fold forward, just kind of wherever I am, and noticing differences side to side. Now I just spent a whole bunch of time. What was that, like 5 minutes, Dave?
5:09.
5:09. Damn.
So good.
I know. So giving this a chance to work, not being in a hurry to do a ton of work, but really making this about quality. Chest tall, take a big breath in, and resist into the ground, push into the mat, push into the floor, and release. Big breath in and get all the way to the bottom of your breath. Empty that belly. Good, to the bottom, good. Now, hold here for a second, do one more contract. Just tell my brain I own this position. It's a strange, big, huge external rotation load, but telling my brain I own that. Good, now, let's go ahead and do the wind up. So I'm gonna turn, staying tall as I can, belly is tight. I'm gonna turn until I feel that wind up through the spine. Can breathe there. I'm gonna load now forward in that position. So trying to be as tall as I can, almost like I'm looking over the shoulder. Take a big breath in here and resist into the ground and release. As I exhale, I'm pulling my belly button to my spine. I'm just gonna be there to take up the slack. I'm not cranking. I'm just moving to where my body tells me to stop because of stiffness or neuromuscular range limiting, whatever it is, doesn't matter. And then I'm just gonna hang out here, take a breath. Stiff, hold myself up, and exhale. Still thinking about taking up slack through the hip. Again, I start to find this in different rays and corners and vectors of my glutes. Now, I'm gonna walk away the other side, kicking the leg back behind me, trying to get my belly button to approximate to the heel. So I'm gonna try to go to the heel here. I'm just gonna hang out, resist, push into the ground, and release. Now we like this pigeon variation with our stiff athletes because everyone can usually get the hip on the ground like this and begin this conversation. The degree to which you can modulate your torso is dependent on your range of motion abilities. But you don't feel this big gapping in your knee. You don't have to worry about unlining that foot. So I'm trying to get over there again to the being tall, belly is drawn to the spine, lengthening through that, trying to be as tall as I can through that whole chain. Then take a big breath here. Resist, hold yourself up, push into the ground, and release. Keep there, right, taking up the slack. Couple breaths. Good, now we're gonna add a slightly different rotation. All I'm gonna do is cross the leg. Classic yoga business, wrap that chest up, and then just take a second and try to pull that knee to your chest. Doesn't matter however you're gonna clutch that thing. I just wanna sit tall, bias chest position first, pull this in, take a breath. We could add the rotation, but all I want you to do is just pull it tall here since we've opened this up, and then take a couple big long breaths here. Belly to spine, one more time. Just touching those corners. Let's hit the other side. What's our time, Dave?
We're at 9:07.
9:07. And there's the G-Star. How was volleyball, girl?
Long.
Typical pre-tween. Not a tween.
Pre-tween.
Pre-tween. I guess that makes you a tween. You're officially a tween, aren't you?
No.
12?
12. 13 is teen.
Right, tween. Between. Tween. Yeah. Pull it in tight. Sitting tall. Long. How was your day, Dad? Like long. I'm gonna try to use that on Juliet next time. How's your day, hon? Long. What? How was lunch? Long.
Hey, Daddy. This is from Kevin.
Oh, very nice. All right, last couple ones. Get into as best cross-legged position as you can. If you can get one leg over the top, the better. And this time we're gonna pull belly button to spine and we're gonna walk out, and I'm trying to round my low back. So when we were trying to open up the hip, I literally was trying to get my back straight and use my whole spine as a tensioner. In this situation, I'm just gonna round down, let my head go, try to get my belly onto my chest, collapse in, and then I'm gonna try to take a couple big breaths in that bottom position. Try not to breathe in this microphone too much. Let your head go. Take a couple big breaths. Let that head go around. Slowly come back up. It's okay to have a little bit of spinal flexion there. We just have to make sure that we're pulling the belly button to the spine and we're not loading axially. So just easy fold forward. If this causes you low back grief, don't panic. But the key here is that I'm learning to flex the spine and draw in that abdominal wall. So I'm creating intra-abdominal pressure to support that flexion of the spine. If I let my belly sag and then flex, what ends up happening is I have this kind of traffic accident at my neck and I don't actually support the disc. So creating high intra-abdominal pressures is a way of supporting that spine. So belly to the spine, let yourself ragdoll around. Big breath in and all the way to the bottom. Big breath in again, in that compressed space. And let it go. Big breath in again. Come on back up. And guess what? Simple pigeon complex, easy day, give it work. And what you're gonna find is that being able to unload that pelvis in that bottom position makes a massive change in the freedom and capacities of your hips and spine. See you guys tomorrow.